Well, good morning and good afternoon to all of you that are on the East Coast. I'm Bob Cooper, president of Elite, and putting first things first, I know that your time is really valuable. I understand what it's like to operate an auto repair business like yours. So I'd like to say thanks so much for carving out your time today, and thanks so much for joining us. First of all, I'd like to make a real brief announcement here if I could. We actually have a couple openings in ProService, and for those of you that may not be familiar with ProService, it's actually a peer group of 90 of the top shop owners in America, and it really is unlike any other peer group, guaranteed. So if you'd like to learn more about those two openings, you can visit our website at eliteworldwide.com, or you can give me a call at 800-204-3548. As for today, which I'm really excited about, you're going to hear from John Berghauser. He's actually the Director of Education for Bolt-On Technology. And I'm sure all of you that have heard him in the past will certainly agree. This is a guy that really is super talented, and he's an absolute joy to listen to, for sure. So for those of you that haven't attended one of his webinars, I can make you this promise. You're going to be in for a real treat today. You really are. All that I ask that you do is sit back, relax, take a lot of notes. This is going to be recorded, but still I would encourage you to take a lot of notes because you're going to absolutely love what you learned today. So with that said, thanks again for joining us today. And John, my friend, it's all yours.
All right, Bob, thank you very much for turning it over and also for embarrassing me. That's what you always do, and I appreciate. But I want to make sure that everybody out there can hear us. So is there anybody out there? I just want to make sure the technology is working. So if you would be so kind as just give a little chat message. And the reason I'm asking is because somebody just put it in there that they can't hear me. And what you want to do is respond to this. I'm going to send out a quick little chat message to make sure. Oh, cool. Very nice. We got people on board. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. We always want to make sure that you folks can hear me. If you can't hear me, it's going to be something on your side. And it looks like we might have somebody there. Give me 1 second. All right. Just send this out there and then we'll get started. Great. Thank you very much for all you that did it. Cannot see you. If you can hear me but you can't see me, you're not going to see me personally, and you don't want to do that. So you should be seeing the Bolt-On and Elite logo, and that's exactly what you should be seeing. So we should be good to go here. All right, folks. So as Bob said, we're going to talk about shop technology today, and the subject matter is shop technology. The investment has always been in the back of the shop. Now, isn't it time to invest in the front? So over the next few minutes, I'm going to discuss the reasons and what we're talking about and why to invest in the front. And hopefully by the end of this, you're going to get an idea exactly what I'm trying to share to you is that if the service process that you're doing is still the same that you've been doing for the last couple of decades, you definitely need to change. So let's get to it and follow through and see what we got here. So light vehicles are constantly changing to meet the demands of fuel economy, emissions, and to keep customers interested in buying new models as often as possible. And meeting these goals has only been possible through the advancement of technology. And during my career, and I know many of yours, I've watched the advancement from carburetors that basically just drip fuel into the engine to the precision of direct injection vehicles that we have today. From no computers to multiple computers using millions of lines of code in a matter of just a few decades. And the thing is, it's still advancing onward to a more technological future. With the increasing use of technology in vehicles, shop owners have had to continue to invest in equipment that is needed to diagnose and fix these vehicles. As a matter of fact, for shop survival, it has become necessary for the shop to invest in this technology. And as vehicles transitioned into fuel injection, scan tools became the required commitment. Regular updates and subscriptions also became the norm. Repair information has also transitioned from books to disk and now to the internet, another item that's required for repairs and service. And because not using repair information is simply a recipe for disaster. Alignment racks. They went from strings to lights to blinking LEDs, and we've all been through this, and we've moved on with the technology. So we've been spending the money to keep ourselves up there. Talk about alignment racks. Let's talk about balancing wheels. The old bubble balancer, how many of you folks are out there that remember that? Because I do. And then going up to the actual spin cycle, and now to a road force balancer. And again, all investments that you're making in the back of your shop, and nothing here is inexpensive. Talk about air conditioning, one from R12 to 134A to 1234YF, and each one of these changes requires yet another piece of equipment, another investment that went into the back of the shop. And if you folks are out there flushing vehicles, you're also purchasing that type of vehicle equipment and maintenance equipment and filling your limited space in your shop in the back with all this equipment. Thousands of dollars are spent annually in the back of the shop and allowing the technicians to do what they need to do as efficiently as possible. Also, giving them the ability to work with whatever the increasing pace of technological advancement brings before them. And it's been necessary. You've had to do this. And there's no questions that you're going to continue to do this as you're moving along. And who knows what the future brings. But no matter what you've done and invested in the back, there's one important piece to the whole puzzle that needs to happen to make it work. The investment only works if there's a return on investment, the ROI. That equipment, in order to do that, needs to be used to make this happen. And yet, it seems that many shops, though you've done all the investing, thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment in the back, you're not realizing just one small thing. One thing that definitely needs to be taken care of. Ladies and gentlemen, you need customers. You need customers in every bay to make that equipment pay. And the best equipped shop is nothing without customers, because ultimately they're what drive what we do. They're the ones that bring us the money. They're the ones that make us do what we do. They bring it in. And we have to get those customers in, or if we don't, all that equipment sitting in the back is just doing nothing but gathering dust or other and getting in the way. So one of the things that we need to be sure that we take care of is keeping those bays full. And the thing is we need to stop waiting for our customers to show up, because basically in many circumstances, and again, I'm not going to say this is every shop, but many circumstances in shops, we just wait for people to come on. Yeah, we make some appointments and, we tell people there's some jobs coming up, but we're not really good behind it. And one of the things that we share from Bolton that we really should be doing in the industry is exactly what the dentist does. I went to the dentist last week, and after all the pain they caused me, they gave me my next appointment and told me the next time I come in is just a basic cleaning. I didn't leave without knowing when I'm coming back. And that's one of the things that we really want the shops out there to understand, that you need to let the customer know that there is future work coming and that they should be coming back to you. So isn't it time that you invest in the front and fix what's wrong with the service process and at least start using it properly? Using a digital solution that automates most of the best practices is what's going to make that happen for you. So when it comes to the front of the business, it seems that many, many shops are resistant to spending money up there. Even though this is actually the doorway that every customer needs to come through, we seem to be reticent in putting money up front. Yep, definitely some shops are making the waiting room and service desk area really inviting. They have beautiful and scented bathrooms. They have coffee, and boy, do they have coffee. My in-laws like to go to their shop because they have the best coffee in the world, my father-in-law says. And I'm like, good for you. But the point is, we're investing in those things, but we still need to get the people in the door to use these things. So if this doesn't work, your customers are not returning to your shop. So you still need a system in place to keep them coming back, to get them in the door and not have them driving by you, just like you saw that car go. So that's part of what we're talking about here. But we're not talking about getting new customers into the shop. We're focusing more on the customers that you already have and not reaching out to new ones through advertising and such. Because remember that you have a much higher chance at selling service to a current customer than a new one. And some of the basic statistics that are out there, folks, is that a new customer calls you 5 times more than holding on to a customer. And even after that, you only have a 5 to 20% chance of selling to that new customer. Whereas your regular customers, the ones that you get to come back, you have a 65 to 70% chance of selling that customer because you built that connection. You built what that customer is looking for, that trust. So we're not looking at new customers here. We're looking at keeping those customers that are willing to pay the money that they need to do to keep their cars working smoothly and fine, and at the same time supporting our shop. But it seems that few shops notice that the connecting thread, the service process that makes all this happen, is broken or it needs updating, and it has to change. It makes customers dread coming to the shop. And the funny thing is not only are the customers suffering with this whole process, the service process that I'm talking about here, is that we too are affected negatively by it. So if you're still using paper to write up customers, manually dispatch work, paper inspections, paper estimates, you're setting appointments on a paper calendar, as well as calling customers and leaving messages, your service process is holding you back. And what we want to talk about here is how we can change that to make things move forward and improve it for your customer and for your shop. So I ask you, did you ever consider all the steps that make up the service process? If done right, it should be called the service cycle, since the customer should be returning to your shop for all their service needs. And what I basically am displaying here is that the service process is a number of steps that we're going to go through, and almost every vehicle is going through the same steps. And what most shops do today is they go through the process and then the customer just goes out of the loop and they're gone. In reality, if we're doing the service process properly, we should have what I'm calling the service cycle. Okay, and the idea here is that as the customer goes through all the different points of our service, we are setting them up to return. Because again, they're the ones that we can sell more service to. We can build that trust and get them back instead of having to bring in new people where we're spending a lot of money. So that's one of the things I want to introduce. Let's take it from the service process and call it the service cycle, because we want it to repeat over and over again. So let's talk about some of the things that you may be doing today and how it can be changed and what effect that's having on your service cycle or service process if you're still doing it the same way. So the current system that you may be using on appointments, it starts with the appointment. What information do you have at your fingertips to have a complete conversation with your customer and discussing their customer needs when it arrives? So speaking about this now, while you're on the phone call and setting up the appointment, you better prepare your customers for what is needed, not overwhelming them on arrival. And my experience is that many shops just note the basics, such as customer name, phone number, vehicle, and what the customer is requesting. And what you're seeing here is an actual, with bolt-on technology, I get a chance to go into a lot of shops. And this is an actual shop using a seating chart. I didn't even realize this, but that's their calendar. And as you can see, very little information is here. So think about all the things that we're missing when we're using a paper calendar. And are we getting the time and the ability to upsell a customer, at least let them know it's coming in? And that's the other point I want to make here, that when we're setting up these appointments, if we're using a proper system, we can prepare our customers for what they're going to be needing to take care of on the next visit. Just like the dentist has told me, my next visit won't be as painful, but they're going to clean and it's going to hurt, right? And here, as you can see, if I didn't work in this shop, well, I didn't work in the shop, but look, there's an Accord with an LLF. That's just not enough. It's not really building that cycle that we're discussing. Going digital means that you have everything right at your fingertips with just a few clicks of the mouse. So for example, what you see here is when the phone rings, I click on the customer balloon that pops up on the lower right-hand side. And when I click on that window, it's going to open up a window, because what has happened here is the system, the digital software that we're using, has identified the customer that's calling in as one of our customers and is going into my system's database and pulls their information up. So when I click on this little blue down here, this is the first thing that pops up. And look at all the information that we have in front of us right now. We know that the customer's got another appointment. We know how many visits from the first visit to the last visit that they've done. So this is a customer that's one of ours. This is one of the people that we want to focus on. If that customer owes money, that's immediately aware. You've got it right in front of you. How much has this customer spent in a lifetime? Well, as you can see, we're looking at about $23,000 with an average ticket of about $327. This is information that allows you to know that the customer, and here's the point that I want to make, you haven't picked up the phone yet and you have this in front of you. So when you pick up the phone, you already know it's Lynn Franzen. You already know the address and where she lives. Also, apparently this person definitely needs, we put a note in here that this person definitely needs to have all prices before working. So you have a lot of preparatory information. Matter of fact, if you click on the customer's address, it'll open up Google Maps and show you where they live. Or if you need to, you can send an email right from here right now. But going yet further, it will display all the customers' vehicles that they currently have been bringing to your shop. And if one of the customers is highlighted in green, when you click on it, all the recommendations that hopefully you've been doing in the past and you're doing today appear here, so you can have the conversation with the customer right on the phone about what they need to get done at their next appointment. And think about this. If we're doing this when they first arrive, it's a surprise. But if we build it up in the advance, and if they're setting an appointment a week, that allows them to get mentally and financially prepared due to the items that we're suggesting. Going a step further, we can actually schedule the customer's appointment right from here, right in your management system calendar, and add everything like that. And what's really nice about this is that we're doing it with our management system open in the background and not interfering. But the point here is if we do all this up front, talk about the recommendations, talk about the OEM responsibilities for the car, and we do this all up front before the customer drops off, it's ultimately going to save us more time and grief near the end. So that paper calendar has definitely got to go away. So the current system that many shops are using is that when the customer arrives, you're doing everything. You're standing behind a desk, you're creating the estimate, you have no vehicle information. Matter of fact, the vehicle's out in this lot, and it's nowhere near for you to even look at. So we want to try to change this by having the actual system in place. So creating most of the estimate with the vehicle outside is not what we want to do. Having all the vehicle information in your hand, all those recommendations and everything is key to making this work. If you're not getting these items, it's holding you back. It's resulting in inefficiency, and that jam up every morning is part of the result of that. So let's talk about the drop-off when you're using digital. So you can write up the customer using the appointment already in your management system. Matter of fact, that means the more homework you do up front on an initial call, the less work you have to do later. The appointment can have almost everything that you already need right in place. You can digitally capture all the pertinent information and be 100% correct all the time. You can go over what the customer wants done. You can cover all the recommendations from the last visit. You can walk around the vehicle with the customer while accessing pictures from the previous visit and showing them any OEM requirements. Matter of fact, being able to walk around the car with the customer at this point in time and having all the information in front of you, I call it show and sell. You can actually point out, last time you were in, Mr. Customer, your tires were a bit low. Well, look at them today. They're very, very low. We definitely need to do something. And you may remember when you set the appointment, I gave you an estimate on some tires. So I think we should be able to do it for you today. And the fact is that you can have that conversation because you're fully equipped and prepared with what you need to have that conversation with a customer. So meeting and greeting a customer, 100% accurate with all the information. How do you dispatch work? And as I've been going across the country to different shops, I've seen bulletin boards, clipboards, whiteboards, all different methods for dispatching jobs. And remember, in some shops, that the red sleeves are the weights that need to be done right away, but yet, just like you see here, they're sitting in a pile. So that adds to the confusion and the delays and things that you have going on because somebody has to monitor this and be right on top of it. And no matter what system you use, it involves somebody peeking at it. When you go to a digital system, the technician gets a message on a tablet that there's a job available for him. The technician looks at the assigned work in progress. They actually have their own work in progress listed on the tablet and notes that the current job that they were working on is now down for parts. The technician sees the new job and picks up the tag keys from the board and checks the VIN on its key tag against the one that's actually on the estimate on the tablet. And then looking over the digital estimate on a tablet, the customer sees that the technician sees that the customer has an issue. And in the back of the tech's mind, he remembers that there's a TSB on it. So before he even gets to the car, the technician can go into the service management system and look up any kind of TSBs or anything that's available in this car and already have a plan of attack on when they reach that vehicle and how they're going to do their diagnosis. I mean, being totally educated is the way you want to be. If your current system is not digital, we mentioned earlier that a digital system allows you to pull up the previous inspections. Well, if you're using paper still, you're going to find that that's an issue because you got to go find that paper and then you got to go and reinterpret it and pull everything out. So that makes it really difficult to have a discussion with the customer about the previous recommendations. And the fact is that you have to reinterpret what was written on here. Again, is going to slow you down. So let's switch back to the diagnosis being done on the digital side. What we recommend is the technicians, when you go digital, will do their diagnosis inspections up front and then turn those items in for authorization. So in this situation, the diagnosis is complete and sent in for estimating. And at that point, the technician looks back at the previous inspection, knowing that he should focus on the brakes since they were previously marked at 430 seconds. And he has a picture and everything here available that they can refer back to. So when he starts today's inspection on the tablet, that sends a message up to the service desk, keeping the service advisor up to date. So not only are we having a system that now dispatches and takes the dispatching away from us and makes life easy, we're also keeping the front desk informed by sending messages up to them as we're starting and finishing inspections. The digital inspection, there's no more handwriting. Everything's going to be just a few taps of a finger, and if the description's not there, all the technician needs to do is use speech to text. And also using pictures and videos to show the why of what we're suggesting, and also being sure that when we take these pictures and do the videos that we draw the customer's eye directly to what we want them to know. We want them to see exactly what we're pointing at, and that's what we're going to do. And another piece to the digital system that makes it better is as the technician is tapping on the tablet and putting this information in, at the same time, they're actually putting the jobs that are required back into the management system. So it's already building the estimate for the service advisor all by the technician just tapping his finger. And in this circumstance, the technician realizes that the brakes are now at 230 seconds. He notices that the rotors are beyond resurfacing. So basically just tapping and the front rotor and replaced brake pads goes in there. Being able to show the customer by using that tab and circling on there is the way we want a customer to know. We want them to be able to see exactly what we're doing. If you're working on the current system, you know that you have pencil whipping going on. You have technicians just going in there looking at what they think is important with nothing in the background, nothing to guide them. They're just going right through here. They're chicken scratching. I have to admit, I was one of the head chicken scratch writers in every shop I've ever been in. But that causes all sorts of issues because everything not only has to be recopied, but it has to be interpreted. They have to call me as the advisor has to call me up to the desk if I'm the guy that wrote it and try to get me to explain to him exactly what I'm writing on there because he can't read my writing at all. And finally, all this information has to be recopied and put into the management system, which again slows you down. So when the technician finishes the inspection, an automatic message goes up to the advisor. Opening up, the advisor sees all the tech notes and sees what's clear and concise. He sees the pictures and the reason for the brake and rotor replacement. And all those tech recommendations I mentioned are already in the management system along with these findings and measurements. On your current system, the paper inspection, the technician has to walk that up to the service desk and leaves it for the advisor to look over and prepare the estimate for the customer. And then the advisor is going to pick up the phone call and calls the customer, and of course, many times it gets voicemail. They leave a message, and then they call a second number that the customer said to call. You know how that works because you might not reach them in the first one, and leaves a message again and waits. Now, one of the things about doing the paper inspections, and that's kind of given them a bad name, is the fact that because we as advisors are going to look at the bad and the yellow and the green, the red, the yellow, and green. And because we have to do all that work of copying, interpreting, and whatnot, and putting in the management system, what do? We focus mainly on the bad, the red, and then maybe the yellow, and then we never mention the green. And what that leads to is a very unbalanced inspection for our customer. So they get beat up, and they're not happy about it. And with a digital inspection, you can give them a more balance because everything's already taken care of. And the other concern here is not only is the advisor waiting on that phone call, we know that the technician is waiting in the bay and has the bay all tied up. On the digital side, with the estimate complete, the advisor is going to text this inspection and any diagnostic results to the customer. And generally, minutes later, a timestamp text comes back from the customer approving all the requests at work. And the advisor, all they have to do is transfer all the jobs to the right labor lines. And then after opening those lines, send a chat message right out to the technician, letting them know that they've got approved for all the items that were listed on the inspection. And just to let you know, folks, the average phone call from dialing to voicemail picking up, there's 30 seconds of your life gone. And you know how leaving the message and all that takes time. But the average text message is opened up in a minute and a half and responded to in less than 3 minutes. That's one of the reasons why a digital system will always give you texting as a capability. The technician's just finishing the oil change, and he sees that chat message and opens up the job from his work in process and sees all the added work, never leaving the bay. And he continues to work on the vehicle. Mine, folks, think about the time saved and not walking back and forth. The last item is finally completed on the vehicle, and the tech prints a lube sticker. And when this sticker is printed, the software is automatically going to set the recommendations and appointments for the next time all these jobs are due, right in the management system, even setting next year's state inspection today if we did an inspection. So the software, as I was mentioning, if I'm doing a Pennsylvania state inspection and I hit print, I have it set up where it's actually going to set next year's inspection date today. How else are we going to bring that customer back by building that continuity and letting them know, hey, it's once a year, we need you back next year to do that. And also, all the recommendations are being added automatically for you. So on the other side, in the current system, the customer finally calls back and approves the work only if it can be done before the end of the day. And you folks know how this works. The advisor already knows that it's already pretty close to quitting time, and the vehicle's already been put together and pulled out of the bay, so he tells the customer that it's not going to get done. And of course, the customer gets angry, hanging up the phone and saying, put it together, he's going to come and get it. And you realize you've lost a lot of time, not to mention the job that you could have had. Back to the digital side, the job was completed. The tech finalizes the repair order on the tablet and sees the parts for the ride for the other vehicle and starts himself on that vehicle. And the beauty of this is the technician's never standing still or wasting time walking back and forth. In the digital system, the advisor sees that that vehicle is complete, and the advisor adds the final details to the invoice and sends it by text to the customer. In that same text message, the advisor can also include a link that the customer can tap on. And what it's going to do is all those recommendations that the system automatically set is going to put them right in their calendar on their smartphone. And as many customers live by that calendar, they're going to see this appointment coming up, and they're already going to be prepared for what needs to be done. So again, they can be financially and mentally prepared to do what has to be done. So the customer texts back asking, should they call to give a credit card to pay for the work? The advisor responds with a no and sends a text and pay message. As you can see here, as the customer gets that, taps on it, it automatically fills in all the customer's information and even their credit card information they put in. It gets all encrypted, sent back, and the software automatically is going to collect the payment, zero out the invoice, and send a digital copy of the paid invoice back to the customer with their signature right on it. And think about the time savings there in collecting money. And if you're working with fleets, they can pay before they have the guy out there picking it up, et cetera, et cetera. So in the digital system, the customer can arrive after hours. Everything's taken care of. They unlock the car with their spare keys and pick up the other keys that you may have hidden underneath the mat in the car and drive off happily. And between the visits to the shop, the customer who uses their phone calendar to plan their days, again, is going to see that appointment coming up so they can financially prepare for it. The angry customer, on the other hand, because we're using the current system, picks up their unfinished car and leaves the shop, not planning to come back. And as they drive away, we can watch our profits and everything go with them. In the digital service cycle, it continues. A week before the appointment, an automatic text message is sent to the customer about that appointment. And it's going to say something like this, and it's customized according to the customer. And just the customer replying with the letter C, as in the word confirm, they can confirm the appointment, and the shop that's looking ahead on their calendar can pre-order parts that they may not have in stock for that vehicle. So the car parts are waiting for the car, not the car waiting for the parts. So hopefully you're starting to see how the digital cycle is going to make a big improvement. And of course, that customer confirming the appointment, they're going to drop off their car and ultimately keep your bays full, repeating the service cycle over and over again. So a number of questions for you to think about after we've gone through this. Do you have a service process or a service cycle? And remember, the process is one that's open-ended. You're hoping that the customer comes back. Question I always ask, how far out are your appointments? And many times the response is 1 week, 2 weeks, and then there's quite a few of you that are over 3 weeks, and that's great. But many shops, after 2 weeks, there's no appointments. And I know there's some people that say having appointments too far out is not a good thing, but if we start building that continuity, putting those recommendations out there and letting the customer know that in a year your inspection's due again, of course, and we'll remind you about it, we'll get you back, that's not a bad thing. And then again, I already mentioned this, do you have a reminder system? Do you have somebody that reaches out and calls your customers and lets them know? Or do you have a system in place that automatically sends a text message a week in advance, letting the customers know what's going on? Are you still bogged down in paper? Well, going digital can eliminate most of the issues that are related to paper and get it out of your way, allowing you to function a lot more smoothly. And let me ask you this. How is your return on investment in all that big equipment in the background? I mean, if it's empty and not being used, there is no return. So the big thing here is what's it going to cost you and what it's going to do to keep your customers returning. You know, how much is that return on investment going to be? So just think about these questions and ask yourself, honestly, and know that going to a digital service cycle will change everything for your shop. And is it worth investing a few $100s in the front end to keep those bays filled and using the thousands of dollars of equipment that you've invested in to increase your ARO at the same time? So investing in the front, one of the things you're going to find out, it's a lot less expensive while returning a much higher return on investment than in the back. And because you have all that money already tied up in the back, doing a smaller investment up front is going to make that investment in the back pay off a lot faster and a lot easier. So I ask you, isn't it time that you decide on a complete human and digital solution to fix your service process? What we're doing here is Bolt-On Technology and Elite have come together, and what we're offering here is the total solution to helping your shop improve and watch your profits go up. We are approaching a shop from both the human side and the digital side. Elite will coach you and show you what you need to do and guide you down the path. Bolt-On software will take care of many of the items that Elite's going to coach you and tell you should be doing, and do them automatically in the background and helping you move in the right direction. So thank you very much for being part of this. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a holler. There will be some more emails coming. And also, this has been recorded so that you can go and watch it. The recording will go to the email that was used to sign up. And please look for more of these events that we'll be giving, where Elite will be the main sponsor of the next one, and Bolt-On will be in the background, and then we'll switch over for the following. So John Burkhauser from Bolt-On Technology saying thank you very much for being on board, and please take a look at your business and see what you can do and see if going to a human and digital result is going to change everything for the better. So long.